From that, it is like, how should I take my engineering mechanics examination? What are the likely questions? I don't know what you ask, and you'll get some views on that. So we see that a lot of talk around. We talk about deep fakes or some generative AI mischief or stupidity, or sometimes a technical issue. A few days back, I think about a week back, ChatGPT, the biggest of them all in the business, was throwing out garbage, spewing garbage as input. So some malfunction in the system. So you start blaming Gen AI or deciding whether it is a good thing or a bad thing very quickly. We're just going to passing judgment on a topic very fast. Instead of that, I would tell you that understand, just as humans make mistakes, the Gen AI would also make mistakes. After all, these are models which are created by humans, and a lot of content could be content which is mined from the internet, from available sources, and there might be some errors in that. Apart from errors, a big portion of, we will talk about that in a bit, is also to do with what if surgeon asks a question on how to do a surgery, and what happens if chat gpt or any other gen ai product gives you a wrong output, right? It can be dangerous, it can be silly, it can be laughable, but what we're talking about here in gen ai is most likely to be true or able to be believed, right? Let's see. Okay, so it's got a appearance of truth or reason, seeming worthy of approval or acceptance, credible, believable, a plausible excuse, a plausible plot. Okay, slightly different from the word possible. It's highly likely. It's got all the elements of what human intelligence would treat as reasonable. Another term which I want to introduce you to. This is a model. Chat GPT is a model. Various Gen AI products are all models. Okay. So what is a model? Something or some person set before one for guidance or imitation, worthy of imitation. So it is like, if it is a person, we have models in the, let's say, in the fashion industry. It doesn't mean you will look or feel exactly like the model, but it's worthy of imitation. You see a nice shirt, and then you want to try and get that similar shirt, just as an example. So it's anything which is worthy of imitation. So it's a model. It's um, it's let's say, what's the difference between a car and a model car? A car is something which I can sit and drive on. It will perfectly work the way it's supposed to be. If it is a model, it is in the design of what the future might look like when it is in production. Okay, so that's a model. And so in this, in a Gen AI context, what's a model look like? It's got an input, it's got convolution, it's got pooling. Convolution is just nothing but if you can combine two or more functions to get an outcome. Let's say two functions are combined and I get a third outcome. So feature extraction and classification, pooling, fully connected, and the output. Okay. So this is the model of any Gen AI. Let's take a data set is another definition that I want you to quickly internalize. It's a collection of related discrete items of related data that may be accessed individually or as a combination. So it's nothing but, as the English word assumes, it's a data set. So a data set might be, for example, here's an image net or a bunch of aircraft. So all the aircraft will not be identical. They might be different models, different colors, or different functions or whatever, but there's something common, okay, within the collection. There are birds. In a way, why data sets are important is, ultimately, if you've seen in the previous slide, there's an input which you're giving, and there's data from somewhere which has to be extracted. There's a feature extraction. So that's why we're talking about data. Is this data organized? No, this is data lying all over the place. Anybody asks any question to a generative AI, and anybody gets an output from the generative AI. So if, for example, if there is a place where there's a good data point, it's a collection of aircraft, then great. Else, typically, if I build some code, or if I'm a person who's looking at the net, the internet is full of things, and this is what data will look like. They will not be organized, right? They will be all over the place. There will be plants and birds and traffic signs and whatever fungi, germs, all of them sitting together. So we will refer this slide back from a data set in a moment. Neural networks, talk about whether human intelligence or artificial intelligence is one or the other. A neural network is a method in artificial intelligence that teaches computers to process data in a way that is inspired by the human brain. So we try to design systems, code in similar way as we would do as a human being. So it's a type of a machine learning process. And it's called deep learning. We will look at what are the connections. Some of us who might remember some of the things that we learned in high school related. Our brain is made of neurons. It's like a big electronic circuitry in there on which input, memory, etc. are there. Similar things we are trying to do. The difference is using data which is available, not limited to one person's memory, but everything which is there on the net is the data. Okay. Learning architecture, I'll not spend a lot of time on this. You can read through this, and maybe this content can also be shared with you. So deep learning is a subset of machine learning, okay, that uses multi-layer neural networks. Okay. So what is an outcome which comes from that? Let's see. Okay. An outcome is something like this. If you are a driver in this car and you are not able to stop, okay, your car for whatever reason, but you can swerve car. So here you can see a young man and an old lady walking. If I go straight, I'll um, injure both of them. If I swerve, I will have a, a child and a woman. I might hit one of them. So what will be your choice? The choices would be: do I, an old lady, I'm a nasty person, I say, or an old lady is dispensable, right? Young person has got a whole life ahead, so I will save the young person. Or I would do something in favor of a young woman versus a young man. This decision, no amount of whatever data is there, there are ethical considerations. There is what will you really learn after all the information which happens? What would you as a person do? This kind of information should be coded into the system, or the system should be able to mine it from some place. So this learning architecture is not just about code and decision making. It's also about ethics. It's about cultures and things like that. Okay. There's transformers. I'll not talk much about this. This is a deep learning architecture, and I think this is the last of the definitions, and then we'll get into a little bit more uh, detail among the last of the definitions. This is a term again which is related to, we talked about task, right? The task, we talk about question and answering, sentiment analysis. One of the things that machines don't have versus what we have is they'll have a knowledge, but they may not understand emotion. They won't understand your mood. You're angry, you're sad, you love something, you hate something. It doesn't understand all that stuff. So some of this have also to be taken out from the foundation model. You have the large language model. This and again, I'm requesting all of you, you know, to note down some of these ideas, get into some detail, throw the jargon when you speak to possible people whom you go for internship or recruitment. Take each of these topics and read about it. There's plenty of content available out there on the net, or if you take some formal courses, learn about all this thing. So large language or LLM is a large deep learning algorithm that's equipped to authorize, translate, predict, and generate human sounding text to convey ideas and concepts. So, what does this really say? I'm not going to give input which looks like software, an application, or a program. I'm writing simple English. In simple English or simple whatever language, I'm asking a question, and that language, the sentiment around that language, the possible why I'm asking that question, etc., is what a large language model will do. This is based on all the queries, questions, content, and by the way, most of the content on the internet which is relevant is all in English. So these have to learn some of these in other languages, further complexity. So this is an English input and an English output. In between, you can have code, machines, CPUs, whatever data doing whatever is going on. And one of the things that came across, I thought I should share this with you, is that the researchers estimate that in 2 or 3 years, we'll exhaust high quality text data for training LLMs that can slow down AI progress. So if there is all the data in this world is mined, and you just have only some of this data left. Okay, so then machines have very little to learn from. What is machine learning? It focuses on the use of data and algorithms, gradually improving its efficiency. Okay. Some of you might be thinking about, you're doing some programming in Python or TensorFlow or PyTorch or some topic. So machine learning algorithms are typically created using platforms. Python by far might be still the most popular. There might be some newer products I know of, TensorFlow at least, uh, which will be used in machine learning. Okay. It's the same process as our learning, really, as humans, however we learn. And so, what is GenAI? So, with all those definitions, we bring them all together. It's a platform that generates a variety of outputs based on massive training data sets. We looked at data sets, neural networks, imitations of our brain, deep learning architecture, interchangeably used with machine learning, and prompts for users. Okay. Some place where we can ask an input and get an output. So that's what this looks like. Your input might be a zebra, for example. There is something that you're going to mine from the zebras. You know, you see these boxes there. It might say that it's got black and white stripes. And then you'd run it past a rectified linear unit convolution. Then you do various activities, and in the output, there's a 20% chance it's a horse, there is a 70% chance it's a zebra, and there's a 10% chance it's a dog. Okay. So based on this probabilistic distribution, after doing all these various things, so the input was in an LLM mode, the output will be in an LLM mode. So you'd have applied machine learning, neural networks, deep learning, etc., and come out with an output. So we talked about machine learning, neural networks, deep learning. I think it's a bit confusing. And so AI, these are the components of AI: neural networks, machine learning, and deep learning. Okay. And machine learning is the superset inside the machine learning and neural networks. This is like a kind of like, think about it as a human intelligence is based on this. Human intelligence inputs comes from neural networks, and then you have deep learning. Okay. So let's cut to the chase. We are half an hour in. So where are the jobs? I did a Google search on gen artificial general intelligence jobs. Okay. And a huge number of open positions. They are for data scientists, software
So if I
engineers.
can take a second, students, I request you to kindly pay extra attention here because this is where you will be searching for the jobs and this is where the topic is going to be more relevant to you. So I kindly request you to pay attention to this part of the session, especially. Sorry to interrupt you, so you can continue.
No, that's fine, Priyanka. That's important. So the whole idea is everything we spoke up until now is something that you probably already know or you would have studied. We're trying to connect that into job opportunities and what, more importantly, what specifically do you need to do to, to get those opportunities, and a few tips on, how to go about your interviews. Okay. I did another search on computer science jobs, and LinkedIn has got this time 18,000 plus jobs. Naukri.com has got 13,450 jobs. And then I look at machine learning engineer jobs. So anything, any topic or subtopic, I could type LLM, find out what are the jobs, who are the jobs, where are the jobs. Irrespective of whether you qualify for these jobs or not, I would encourage you to stay up with some of these job portals, go and read the job descriptions. They are practically like your syllabus for what you need to study, right? And as you'll be assured, there are a lot of jobs out there. Okay. So the construct of the GenAI, it's got a foundation model, it's got an ML ops model, it's got an application model. Now I'll tell you how the connection happens here. So each of these components, we'll see what's in a foundation model and what's a related job opportunity there. Okay. First of all, remember this, that that there is marketing. Sometimes some companies are far ahead of the others, and therefore we hear about Chat GPT. There are hundreds of organizations from in India, globally, everywhere in the world. Indians do it, the Israelis do it, the British do it, the Germans do it, the Australians do it, the Americans do it. But this is a largely US has got a tremendous lead in this. Many of these organizations are based in the US, and the foundation layer is what they are working on, right? So, what is a foundation layer? It's the core content of how this engine works. We looked at the GenAI construct, right? So, this who is building this core engine? They are those companies that we just saw. Okay, so they are tech giants, mostly based outside of India, concentrated in the US. There is core innovation, pure brand new content models, algorithms that are being created there. So it's got open source, closed source platforms and hubs. So what are the likely jobs for you out there? Not meaning to discourage some of you. So unless some of you are heavily research oriented in terms of being able to innovate something to show, or you have deep skills in some of the sciences like mathematics, you're extremely cutting edge in programming, you're unlikely to land your first job in this area, especially if you are not local to the US. So some of you might, for example, do a post graduation overseas. And I'm not deselling our excellent education system, but I'm just saying that if you have, it's a combination of so many factors, right? Combination of content, how deep, what skill is available locally around wherever these organizations are founded. My view, the foundation models has got limited opportunities in India as of now. So how do you get into some of this kind of research oriented or deep skills? Usually is to do a post graduation in India or overseas and get on the map of some of these organizations. Now, there are three parts to the GenAI. One is the foundation model. The second one is the ML ops model. Okay. Here is an area where which deals with operational challenges of deploying artificial intelligence and machine learning with customers. Okay. This is an area where the roles would be around model selection. Should I use model X or model Y or model Z or some other model? Should I even invest in the models? Uh, how do I prepare my data? Or on input output, ChatGPT will not solve world hunger if you do not have available data. And we already saw in 2 3 years, even the available data is going to start diminishing. So there'll be more qualitative data which has to come in. So the data preparation, training, model configuration, performance, deployment, and even maintenance and monitoring. A lot of jobs students remember in our country is based on arbitraged work, which means support work to keep systems working. That's not all what we do, but that's a large portion. At least I personally have been a support person all through my career mostly. So maintenance and monitoring, seeing whatever is supposed to work, is it working the way it is supposed to be doing? So these are areas where you're likely to have more opportunities on MLOps models. Okay? So you'll have find organizations like AWS, Databricks, etc., who are who hire people extensively in this. Some of them use it directly for their business. Some people like Amazon Web Services, and some do it for their customers. Okay, so these are jobs which usually combine very well. If I mean, will work very well for you if you combine it with domain skills. Okay? So let's say one of the organizations I worked for was Hindustan Unilever. Okay, Unilever is their home and personal care products. They do food, ice creams, etc. Okay? So what happens is if I'm and I was working for them from HP as their advisor, program partner, support infrastructure, cloud, whatever services they had in India or overseas. So if I'm working in a Unilever might be interested in how many detergent boxes are getting sold in different parts of the country. Okay? So for that, I need to have some basic knowledge around that domain of seeing what kind of people consume what kind of products. So as an example, one of the things which I learned when I was there is that tea in the food, the beverage tea, there are Brook Bond and Lipton and competitive products from Tata Tea, etc. And you find that let me understand how I will penetrate the market and have more people consume tea. And guess what? I find data that more than 50% of Indian consumers have tea which is not branded. All the chai shops, etc., that we get, number of them are having non-branded tea. So some knowledge of the industry, and so then if I need to penetrate, let's say the roadside chaiwala consuming Unilever tea, which is Brew Bond or Red Label or something, you need to have knowledge of that. You need to know typically what kind of consumption is there so that you can train your models uh, into those areas. So are they IT companies? They are not IT companies. They are like any kind of industry. Somebody's steel, somebody's consumer products, somebody's home and personal care. There are thousands or millions of industries. So knowledge in that industry is vital along with your programming skills to be able to make yourself useful to them. So your job description may not be ML ops. Your job description might be uh, we are hiring for SAP, or we want a database administrator or something like that. So whatever is there, whenever you get an opportunity to work in what doesn't sound like an IT company, okay, will still be great. Um, if you can get some of the domain skills, which means also engineering students or science students who are not directly related to computer science or maybe some close relative like an electronics or etc., they have an equal amount of opportunity. If I'm a civil engineer, if I passed out 5 years back, I would have not been using GenAI. If you're not going to be able to use GenAI as a civil engineer or an architect, um, you'll not be in a great place. So it's a combination of domain and data modeling skills. Huge amount of opportunity out there in the market.
That's exactly one of the questions which I have received, sir. If the students are not from technical background, like say, for example, computer science, then but if still they are interested in doing work in AI, how do they prep themselves up so that they meet the industry standards? That's one of the questions that we have received.
Yeah. So this is a very interesting and a little complicated and slightly convoluted answer. Once again, I'll take a stab at this, Priyanka. These almost any organization. I give an example of Unilever. Let's get back into an IT example. Amazon Web Services is one of the hyperscalers. It is the biggest cloud company in the world. So anybody who wants to host anything could go to one of the cloud companies, and they'll provide you the infrastructure. They will provide you the applications, etc. What are the jobs which are available there? The jobs which are available there are all the jobs which existed forever. For system administrators, you need to know Unix, somebody needs to know programming, somebody know identity and access management. Gen AI is an enabling method to further help you with additional information. Gen AI is not going to replace all the dentists of the world, but the dentist of the world earlier had their information only from their tutors. Then they had it only from the books. Then they had it from the internet, huge libraries of information. Today, they can simplify it. LLM, large language module, I can ask a question and get an answer. Okay. So can I, as a dentist, ask the right questions and get the right answers? There is a whole bunch of jobs around prompt engineering. Prompt engineering is what is the best way to ask a question. All of us do Google searches or some other searches, Bing or whatever we use. We know that sometimes the output is only as good as the question that we ask. So we have the prompt or the input that is provided. So in each of those areas, there is something to learn and do. But we'll get one more click into that, and I'll get further into the questions. Okay. There is the application model. We talked about three models. The first model we talked about was a foundation uh, architecture. Then we talked about ML ops, and now the application models. So application models is where Priyanka, you relayed a question to me. If you look at in the occupational sectors of let's say I'm not even uh, I'm not a computer science person, or I'm not a programmer. I am into some other area altogether. I'm a finance person. Okay, right? And my one of my goals is to become a chartered accountant. And I become a chartered accountant and I run a successful practice. There is another chartered accountant who's sitting next door to me. Okay? And they are able to use a Gen AI tool for which they've got free licenses or bought licenses, and they're able to ask questions quickly and answer the questions. So the question might be, what are the insurance? What is foreign direct investment available in insurance? All those jobs sound they cannot be done by finance people. The content all comes from them. Chat GPT kind of products, any Gen AI products, and the people underlying that will be using this. So literally every area of work that we have today, you have those opportunities coming up in that area. So if I, let's say, some of, I don't know whether there are non-engineering, non-physics, chemistry. Let's say there are some bio students in there. So will the bio students learn from Chat GPT or Gen AI? Absolutely, they would be. In fact, they are not likely to maintain their jobs for too long if they are not conversant with this area. Okay, so we talked about this a little bit, further answer to your questions. it's strong domain knowledge combined with programming skills, okay, and you're likely. So let's keep an engineering example. The example I told, I'm a civil engineer or an architect. So I'm my skills are around that area. If I could combine some programming skills, or even if I'm a prompt engineer, so I know what are the right questions to ask. Okay, I will not. For example, if I'm a construction, and I'm a civil engineer, and I say that what products apart from steel are used in structures. Okay. I those questions I could I need to be conversant with the tool, and ideally if I know the subject. If I don't know the subject, and I say, if I ask a question, I'm a dentist and I say that is zirconium better, or for a tooth cap, or a ceramic better, I may not. I would have asked only those questions. I don't know other third products available, or are there new products available in that. So irrespective of your domain, if you combine your domain skills with programming skills, you'll get this a large number of jobs, okay, and they're not limited to IT products and services. Okay. So further, one more click into the question that somebody asked. Okay, so what do you need to do? Okay, you got a lot of gyan. You can get more gyan from the internet. GenAI is really cool. Chat GPT is a product is cool. 3.5 is free. 4, I can have more things that I can do. Okay. So what are the things that I can do, irrespective of which year of college you are in, irrespective of what level of expertise you are in? I'm likening it like that everybody in the past needed a. If you need a white collar job, or a job in an office, a clerical job, or whatever office job, you need to know typing. That everybody needs to be quite conversant with this. It will come in handy. So if I'm a lawyer, I'm not going to need to learn programming, but I will need to be extremely familiar with this. So make good time in your college. I would encourage you, if you've got an opportunity, to pick projects. Final year students have to submit projects, etc. Please use that. There are a lot of open source AI, okay, in the space. The tools, libraries, frameworks, model, developed collaboratively and made freely available to public for use, modification, and distribution. So you, as students, some of you, as part of your college or university, you might have access to some student licenses. You might have some freeware out. Apart from that, there are plenty of these products which are open source. Okay, so you pick up those open source licenses and combine it. For example, many open source tools work smoothly with Python. So if I happen to know Python, or I'm doing some project on cloud, or I'm doing some project on some gaming, etc., you can do this. So if you see, I just these are all off the net, right? So one of my friends and acquaintances whom I came across when I was doing a course from Berkeley on data science. Um, this guy is a CTO of Kindle. It's a breakaway hardware part of IBM. So he was saying that in the AI framework, you can see the number of products available: TensorFlow, PyTorch, whole bunch of different products, libraries and tools, all free, all open source, all up to you to pick up. You even have LLMs um, which are open source. So this is one of the things that you can do when you choose your project, or when you're doing your programming, or people who are in a certain domain. You can familiarize yourself with these. So again, taking an example, if I were a civil engineer and I look at what is there in these libraries and tools. Okay, so if one of the products which is there is called Hugging Face, right? I don't know why somebody would name something that, but whatever. So Hugging Face offers many data sets. So those data sets are content, it's content around different types of architecture, which is for different weather, or those kind of content uh, would be available. So irrespective of what read, you should be working on some of this, I guess. So that takes me to the end of my. Since we will reserve some time for Q&A, or you want to revisit some of these slides. Uh, I started by saying that by giving a quick fire area, and by the way, I'm not the greatest expert on Gen AI, right? I'm just an industry leader who's seen a lot of what happens in the industry, what IT organizations do in response, what do customers do in response, what kind of job patterns am I seeing based on that. So any of these topics can be expanded into whole courses, like talk to me only about LLM, talk to me only about deep learning. Let me go through how Python is used along with GenAI. Show me a use case. I know Python. I've heard of GenAI. Now tell me how I can combine. So each of these we can double click into, a number of them will come, students, faculty who are there, from the questions you ask, so that we can prepare either presentations or simply just give you sessions, or just as a Q&A or FAQ, uh, even share with you use cases depending on the specific topics where you're seeing the maximum interest on. And some of the folk on the call, if you're placement officers, etc., based on your experience with recent organizations which might have come looking for uh, merit in your students, what way they're looking for, and based on that we can have some further deep dive on questions. So over and back to you.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. Yes, students, if you want to meet Mr. Robbie James alone, go and try to meet him. He will not be available. So this is an opportunity to talk to him, understand what are the industry demands. How should you be prepared in order to face the industry, in order to excel in whatever you're doing? Because AI is here to stay. How should you be prepared? If you have any questions, kindly put it across, send it across to your college coordinators, and they will post it here on your behalf. Kindly ask your questions, send it across to your college coordinators. So meanwhile, I have one question here, wherein one of the student is asking that in case it's like, again, I come back to the same question which I asked you earlier. If they're not from technical background but still want to be a part of AI, but if these people are from computer science and they want to get into AI, what kind of courses should they go for? Any 5, 6 courses that are like, will lead you to such jobs with wherein you are using AI on a daily basis?
Yeah, so I'm not aware of any specific courses, or I would not. I mean, you can go to any of the portals like a Coursera, or various places, or within your schools, colleges. You'll find some courses. What I would suggest is, and the reason why I went through somewhat boring definitions and breeze through what is deep learning or is LLM. It's not what am I going to do in Gen AI. What you need to focus on is, if an underlying machine of Gen AI, for example, is programming using Python. Okay, then I want to learn Python, and I want to look at use cases how Python is used in Gen AI. If I'm going to be I'm a civil engineer, I'm not going to necessarily learn as much programming or study as much programming as my friends in the computer science, but I will see what are the use cases, what areas of civil engineering benefits from Gen AI, and therefore be conversant with a language related to that. Let me tell you a slightly convoluted example. If I am a student of English literature, okay, one of the jobs which get generated from LLM, large language modules, is people who can understand and speak about what are the what's grammar in a language, what are the nuances around that language. It's those inputs that will go into the foundation model, but that will be in the research space. Most of the Gen AI jobs may not be called Gen AI. They might be called, for example, machine learning. Within machine learning is, I was asking you, go and look at what are the job descriptions of what skills are required in machine learning, and you'll get your answers right there.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. And it was such an insightful talk. You had so many pictures that were so explanatory, and you did your research, and we had real life examples like what exactly is the job market looking like. So that was very nice, sir. Once again, I thank you on behalf of ISERT and all our students for taking your time out from your busy schedule
Yeah,
to ignite these young minds by sharing your knowledge.
Priyanka,
I
once
thank.
again.
Yes.
Priyanka, once again,
Okay.
there's another question coming. Mr.
Okay.
G, the question goes like this. Uh, looks like there's a threat to the employment. How should one be prepared for that?
And this many many of us, unless it's somebody like me who should be worried. What are those five things that I do which is going to get automated, right? Uh, Jobs change, so threat to. If I may request, give me an example of what job is under threat.
Like for example, if you say content writing, they say it's like no more content writers will be required because ChatGPT is ready to do their jobs. That's what we have been hearing on social media.
Yeah, good take. There's a there's if I were to guess a list of five jobs, which is most likely to go, content writing would be one of that. Okay, which will be most affected. Now tell me, if I'm a Swiggy or and you are a Zomato, right? Both of us are going to ask the same question. Both of us are going to get the same products in the market, right? And I want to write content about something, some promotion which I'm running. Both of them will come out with exactly the same output. By design, Gen AI will give you that output. It might give you an option two, it might give you an option three. So within these two, three options, everybody's going to use. So will a content writer completely disappear? No. But in theory, yes. Let's take a product like ChatGPT. If there are a lot of questions being asked by Swiggy on promotion, that same content will become available to a Zomato also. So it's a kind of communist ideology. Everybody gets access to the same information. So in essence, some of the creative work will go away. Okay, if I'm a poet, then I should be worried because all this Gen AI is writing poems. But I would consider this. Let me tell it a little differently. This is a very important question. My son is actually in a final year of college. In between, he was away. He's mostly into mechanical engineering. He worked for Tesla and Lucid in their industry. In fact, one of the products that one of the designs that he did while in Tesla, if you're familiar with the electric car maker Tesla, and they have a Cybertruck. One of the parts has been designed by my son. My son is all of 22 years old. If he were to ask me the same question and say, could that part have been designed by AI? Absolutely. Theoretically, yes. I'm saying, so what else should he do? Should he not do any more work in whatever he's doing? Should he go and look at some other field? That way, every job will get replaced somehow. I'm not giving you a straight answer, but I would not even think about things which is not in my control. If such a thing happens tomorrow, um, 2000 engineers in Apple who are on their secret project of building an electric vehicle have been told that Apple is going to drop the electric vehicle project and move all their people into Gen AI. I had a discussion with my son in the morning, what it really means. His argument was that it will be really tough for Apple to create an factory and physical production. It's low margin business. Apple is a high margin company. Sure, but companies like Tesla might, focus on the hardware, or some Chinese company might focus on the BYD, or somebody can focus on the hard technology. A good, it's ultimately a battery and an induction motor or some form of motor running the car. The rest is all nothing to do with electric vehicle, but to do with artificial intelligence, self-driving, and monitoring different parts of the car and things like that. So I think you'll have there will be disruption for sure. Will there be less jobs? No. And also the way the industry behaves. Uh, if you've seen the news, that some of the top 4 or 5 Indian IT companies have laid off 67,000 people in the last 12 months. But we see all these open positions. So have they been repurposed? Is it based on an industry? I would not, especially for students, I would not even worry about is this area going to go. Is robotic surgery going to replace doctors? The surgery, they will. They're already assisting doctors in the surgery. Will it happen in 10 years? Should I stop studying medicine for that? I don't think so. But will it disrupt? It will absolutely disrupt. Uh, uh, Jobs. But yeah, I know it's a slightly longish answer, and I can stay on for a few more minutes if there are more questions over the hour too.
Yes, Joseph. Any more questions?
That's it. Done. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Okay.
And
Thank you so
Joseph,
much,
maybe
sir.
just for the heck of it, one of those freeware, pick it up and type that same question into that, and see what GenAI has to say about it. Give a very politically correct answer, I suspect.
Sure, sir. You want Joseph to do it now?
No, I think we are running short of time. The students have got to catch their buses, college buses. So let's wind it up now.
Yeah.
And then, but we
Sure.
will definitely take this, James, and we will ask students to go ahead and do well on the same.
Sure, Joseph. Thank you, sir. I again thank you on behalf of ISERT and all our students for taking your time out from your busy schedule to ignite these young minds by sharing your knowledge. I thank all the students, student coordinators, staff members, organizers, and all those involved in making this conclave a success. Meet you all with another interesting discussion exclusively crafted for you by ISERT to elevate both your learning experiences and career opportunities. Thank you.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.